Chapter 14. The offices of the Santa Fe Sun overlooked the plaza in the center of the old part of town. Tourists milled about, exploring the art galleries and examining the wares of the Native American vendors set up along the sidewalks. Nestled in the foothills of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, Santa Fe, at least the older sections, carried upon it the weight of history and a strong sense of southwestern culture. Bones paused at the door and turned around. "What are you doing?" Jessie asked as she tried to follow his line of sight. "Just taking in the scenery. Nice place." He closed his eyes and breathed in the strong aroma of meat, beans, and chili wafting from a food cart nearby. "We should get a Navajo taco. Those things are awesome." Jessie laughed and took his hand in both of hers. "Quit stalling. We're supposed to meet Amanda in 5 minutes." She raised an eyebrow. "Are you really that nervous about seeing an ex-girlfriend?" "Not really," he lied. "Like I told you before, I keep things chill, and Amanda isn't known to be a chill person, at least not when you get on the wrong side of her.
Based on our time spent together, I'm having trouble putting you and Chill together."
You caught me on a weird day." He opened the door for her and followed her inside. A young Latino man greeted them at the front desk and buzzed Amanda, who appeared all too quickly. She'd probably been waiting in the hall, ready to swoop. Amanda hadn't changed a bit. She was still the raven-haired, statuesque beauty he remembered. She stood, hands on hips, gazing imperiously at Bones. Though she was several inches shorter than he, it felt as if she were looking down at him. Bones. She somehow managed to speak his name as if it simultaneously amused and disgusted her. "It only took you how many years to return my last call?" Bones flashed his most roguish grin. "You know how it is, Maddock and I." "I know exactly how it is. You're a jerk." She shot a glance at Jessie, her eyes taking the young woman in, assessing her. "I was going to let you have it the moment I laid eyes on you, but I'll cut you some slack in front of your girlfriend. I suppose one of us ought to have a little class." "We're just friends," Jessie said to Amanda's back, as the reporter stalked away down the hall, motioning for them to follow. Her office was small and neatly appointed. A laptop and desk calendar sat atop a polished wooden desk. Behind her hung a shelf lined with Dia de los Muertos-themed figurines. The skeletal figures, garbed in the traditional attire of the Spanish colonial era, danced, played instruments, or went about ordinary tasks. Bones found it a macabre yet somehow engaging scene. "That would make one hell of a Christmas village," he noted. "I have a Santa, but I don't bring him out until the day after Thanksgiving." Bones nodded, not sure how to begin. A framed photo in the windowsill, a shot of Amanda standing atop a red rock formation, caught his eye. "Hey, you cropped me out of that picture." Amanda smirked. "It's a good shot of me." Bones nodded. "Every picture of you is—" "Don't." Amanda held up a hand. "I don't want any of your banter or flirtatious crap. I also don't want to hear about how Maddock dumped Jade for your sister." Jade Ahar was an archaeologist and a former girlfriend of Bones' partner and best friend, Dane Maddock. A few years earlier, the four of them had been caught up together in one of Maddock and Bones' adventures. "How did you know about that?" "Jade calls me every now and then." Bones scratched his chin. "I thought you two didn't like each other all that much." "We discovered we have something in common. We're both attracted to jerks." "So you are still attracted to me?" Bones flashed another grin which did nothing to crack Amanda's icy exterior. Beside him, Jessie let out an exasperated sigh.
"Is he always like this?"
Amanda regarded her coolly. "You mean you haven't figured it out yet?"
"We only met yesterday. I'm sticking with him because I think I might get killed if I don't. Somebody's after him. After us."
"That sounds all too familiar." Amanda rounded on Bones. "Can't you for once solve one of your little mysteries without getting innocent girls caught up with you?" "Hey, you love a mystery as much as I do, and you know it." Amanda held up her hands. "Whatever. This is a waste of our time. You wanted to know about the incident in Alcone Rock?"
"Or anything related to it. Here's what we have."
Jessie gave Amanda a quick overview of their research and the conclusions they had drawn thus far. "I can't add much," Amanda said. "A few stories told to me in confidence by Los Alamos employees. All seem to agree that some sort of human-like creatures live underground, but there's no evidence. No one could show me a single photograph or artifact. Nothing. Before I met Bones, I would have thought it was all a bunch of crap, and I'm still leaning in that direction. But I can't dismiss it entirely."
"Why are you gathering information if you don't buy into it?"
Jessie asked.
"It's because of the article I wrote. I thought of it as a fluff piece, but ever since the newspaper ran the story, I've gotten a steady stream of conspiracy buffs and self-described informants knocking at my door." She turned her gaze onto Bones, who shifted in his seat. "So if you don't have anything for us, why did I make the drive up here?" Bones asked. "Just to give me a hard time?" "I know you, Bones, and you haven't put all your cards on the table yet." "Look, we had a good time together, but the long-distance thing isn't for me." "You know what I mean. A single Native American legend isn't enough to set you on a search, and it certainly isn't enough for you to yet again run afoul of dangerous people. Now, are you going to sit there blowing smoke signals up my ass, or are you going to tell me the whole truth?"
"That's racist," Bones muttered.
That didn't get a rise out of her.
"Fine. I found a hidden passageway beneath Alcone Rock."
He went on to describe the door he had found and the chamber in which it was located.
"I'd like to get back there, and maybe I could, but right now the sheriff is watching the place, and I suspect he's the reason these other guys are after me."
Amanda stared at him for the span of 3 heartbeats. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, I believe you. And if there really is an alien doorway—"
"I'd call it a high-tech doorway," Bones said. "We can't say for certain it's alien in origin."
"If you say so. Anyway, I've got a few leads I've actually considered following up on, but I didn't want to waste my time. If you've seen this doorway, that's good enough for me. There might be a story in it, maybe even a book."
"Cool. Just give me the leads and I'll follow up on them for you."
Amanda laughed. "Not a chance. Like it or not, you and I are working together again."
Chapter 15. "What the hell is going on with Mannys Truck?"
Matthew glanced at his father, who gazed impassively at the tow truck pulling the battered pickup into the parking lot of Mannys Service Center. The back window was shattered, but otherwise it seemed to be no more beaten up than it had been when Bonebrake had driven it out of town the previous day.
"Bonebrake had to ditch it," Sheriff Jameson said. "I guess he had it towed back here."
Matthew rounded on him, hands on hips. "How do you know he ditched it?"
"Settle yourself, son. We'll talk about this in private."
Jameson turned and strode toward his patrol car. Matthew glowered at his father's back. The man still treated him like a kid, not just demanding but assuming complete obedience. Did he follow along meekly, or did he stand here like a contrary child? He couldn't win. Fists clenched, he stalked over to the car and climbed in.
"I had a couple of my friends check on Bonebrake," the sheriff said as he pulled the car out onto the road.
"Why did you do that?" Matthew pounded his fist on the dashboard.
"This is my project, mine."
The sheriff slowly turned his head toward Matthew. That was all it took to subdue him. Though his father wore mirrored sunglasses, Matthew could feel the man's steely eyes boring into him. No one else in his life had this effect on him, and he hated it.
"I didn't tell them anything about your project. I gave them the scent, and they overdid it on the pursuit."
Matthew's shoulders sagged. If his father's friends found out about Alcone Rock, they could ruin everything.
"What happened exactly?"
"I found out Bonebrake planned to borrow Mannys Truck. I planted a tracker on it and gave the info to my friends. I told them he was a researcher who might actually know what he was talking about, and I wanted to know if he found anything useful."
"And did he?"
Matthew held his breath, waiting for the answer. Sheriff Jameson shrugged.
"I don't know. My intent was for them to follow him and let me know if he made a useful discovery or if he talked to anyone who might be useful. Instead, they followed him to the UNM library and tried to steal some articles he printed up off the internet."
Jameson rolled down the window, letting a blast of dry air in, and spat a wad of phlegm out onto the sun-baked asphalt.
"There was a car chase, shots fired, and now Bonebrake is in the wind."
Matthew smiled.
"That should scare him off."
Jameson slowly shook his head.
"On the contrary, now he knows for sure we've got something big here. I've got something big."
Matthew's cheeks warmed as soon as he uttered the words. Why did his father bring out the worst in him?
"Now Bonebrake's in the wind, and if I've got the measure of the man, he's going to keep digging. We haven't seen the last of him."
Matthew considered this for a moment.
"He's got to come back for his truck sometime. When he does, we could kill him and dump his body outside of town. Just another unsolved murder."
Jameson nodded.
"Could be, but I don't think he'll prove that easy to kill."
"You don't think I can handle him?" Matthew had never killed a man before, but he'd taken down more than his share of self-styled tough guys in bars and clubs from Amarillo to Albuquerque. He was also an accomplished hunter. Taking aim and pulling a trigger was a simple matter. Jameson didn't take his eyes off the road.
Open that folder and read what's inside. Matthew picked up the manila folder that was tucked in the crack beside his seat and opened it up. Inside were a few printouts, all regarding Bonebrake, a few arrest records from long ago, some information on his service in the Navy, including commendations and awards, and another sheet simply titled Rumors. The items on this list were too incredible to be taken seriously. Atlantis, he read aloud. Oak Island, the skunk ape, alien contact. You expect me to believe this crap? I expect you to understand what sort of person we're dealing with. That file paints a picture of something I've seldom encountered, a true believer who not only isn't crazy but can handle himself. We need to tread carefully around this guy. Matthew flipped back to the page that covered Bonebrake's naval service. A young, short-haired version of the big Cherokee smiled back at him. He had the sudden urge to slap that roguish grin right off the man's face. Maybe he'd get the chance. You have a plan? He asked his father. Maybe we can turn his skills to our advantage. He has to come back for his own truck sometime. I've planted a tracker on it. Maybe we'll follow along and see where he leads us. Chapter 16. I didn't know Los Alamos was part of the Department of Energy, Jesse said from the back seat of Amanda's Toyota 4Runner as the blue sign reading United States Department of Energy, Los Alamos National Laboratory flashed past them. I just figured it was military. That's a common misconception, Amanda said, keeping her eyes on the winding road. The laboratory was founded during World War II as a home for the Manhattan Project, but nuclear is energy. She didn't elaborate. They'd made the short, picturesque drive up from Santa Fe in a tense 45 minutes. Bones had tried to break the silence several times with his trademark humor, but failed at every turn. He'd even resorted to pronouncing Butte as butt. No joy. And since the Manhattan Project, they've continued to conduct nuclear research? Jesse asked. Much more than that. They've focused on nuclear weaponry throughout the Cold War, but have broadened their research since then. They've studied other forms of energy, done medical research on cancer and AIDS, non-nuclear threats and response, lots of stuff. If there's a zombie outbreak, there's a good chance it could start from in there. Bones nodded at the stretch of high chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Amanda rolled her eyes. I'm serious. If a government agency is studying outbreaks and how to prevent them, you can bet they're also studying how to start them. Paranoid? Jesse kicked the back of his seat. Just realistic. He shook his head. A lot of people believe they've conducted UFO research here. Why wouldn't they do that somewhere secret, like Area 51? This place used to be secret, too. No one knew where it was, just P.O. Box 1663, Santa Fe. It's sad that you know that, but you can't remember a girl's birthday, Amanda said. Look, chick, I remembered your birthday. I was stuck on a dive with Maddock, Amanda finished. Have you two considered tying the knot? You're inseparable and you bicker like an old married couple. From the back seat, Jesse let out a tiny laugh. We've discussed it, but we can't agree who would get to lead when we slow dance. Bones deadpanned. Amanda cracked a smile. I can't believe I'm here with you. You have this way of creeping in like a fungus. Don't feel bad. Jesse reached over the seat and gave his shoulder a squeeze. Fungi may have important uses. Penicillin, dairy products. You're not helping, Bones said. Anyway, back to the UFOs, He paused as Amanda turned onto the main drive leading to the laboratory. What's up with this? I thought we were sneaking in. Amanda frowned. Why would we sneak in? I arranged badges for us. Crap. I was really looking forward to sneaking in. He sat, muscles tensed as they passed through security at the vehicle access control point. He was convinced something would go wrong. It was never this easy. However, they cleared security and drove to the research library. As Amanda parked the car in front of the 2-story beige structure, Bones turned to her. You still haven't told us what we're here for. Amanda shook her head, slid out of the car, and slammed the door. Touchy, Bones whispered. He waited for Jesse, and then the two of them double-timed it to catch up with Amanda, who was already stepping through the broad glass door. They stopped at the front desk, where a wizened Hispanic woman with silver-streaked black hair and dark eyes greeted them with a frown. I have an appointment to meet with Mike Madden, Amanda said. The receptionist gave a curt nod, picked up the phone, and dialed an extension. Who's he? Bones asked. Better not be competition. You listen to me. Amanda's words poured out in a harsh whisper.
I have been working this guy for months, and you better not screw it up for me."
"Working him? Like a scam?"
"No, yes, I mean—" She stamped her foot. "Just follow my lead. It would help if you acted like an idiot. That's how I've described you to him."
"Oh, so you told him about me. That means I've been on your mind."
Bones grinned. "Don't look so smug. I also told him you were a big guy except for where it counts most." Her eyes flitted downward for a second, and Bones took a step back.
"Not cool. I'll play along, but don't blame me if he and I wind up at adjoining urinals."
"Cool it." Jessie took him by the hand. "I think that's him coming this way." Madden was a man of around Bones' age with an athletic build and long black hair. He greeted Amanda with a tight hug and a quick kiss on the lips. "Check out the hair," Jessie said, glancing first at Madden's flowing locks and then at Bones' ponytail. "I think she has a type."
"No white guy is the same type as me," Bones said softly.
"I hate to break it to you, but big lug is universal." "Bones," Amanda said with sudden cheeriness, "I'd like you to meet Mike." The two shook hands and traded appraising looks.
"I've heard a bit about you,"
Madden said, adopting a neutral tone. "I didn't realize you two were still in touch." "It's a research thing," Amanda said quickly. "Bones and—" She glanced at Jessie. "His girlfriend happened to be working on something related to a story I'm writing." At the mention of girlfriend, Madden's posture relaxed, and he flashed a warm smile. "That's great, although I'm bummed this visit isn't of a more personal nature." He winked at Amanda. "Not this time, but we'll have to get together soon." Amanda lowered her voice. "Is there somewhere we can speak privately?" Madden nodded. "We can go to my office. Come on." As they strode through the quiet hallways, Bones looked down at Jessie.
"He's not that good-looking, is he?"
Jessie cast an appraising glance at Madden. "He's all right, but if he works here, he's probably a brain. I prefer them big and dumb." She flashed a wicked grin and took Bones' hand. "We're supposed to be a couple, don't forget that." Bones let out a sigh of resignation.
"Somehow I don't think you'll let me forget it."
Since they were in a library, he expected Madden's office to be stuffed with books, but instead it was sleek and modern, with gray walls, glossy black furniture, and modern artwork. He took a seat on a small leather sofa, and Jessie squeezed in next to him, unnecessarily close in his opinion, but that wasn't a bad thing. Madden closed the door, and Amanda took a seat on his desk. "Mike, I need to see the Book of Bones."